I mean, come on. Even the marketing for this movie is gay. I mean, like, do it fast, do it furious. Like, come on. Like they weren't even trying to hide the homoeroticism in this, because there's surprisingly a lot of it. I mean, but, yeah, this is the sequel to The Fast and Furious. They couldn't get half the cast to come back, but Paul Walker said, I ain't doing nothing else, I'll come back for it, why not? I mean, in here you have him returning as ex-LAPD officer Brian O'Connor and his ex-con friend Roman Pierce, played by Tyrese Gibson. They go on to transport a shipment of dirty money from shady Miami business import-export dealer Carter Verone, played by Cole Hauser, while secretly working with an undercover agent played by Eva Mendes to bring Verone down. And, let's talk about what I was talking about before. Yeah, there is a lot of gay tendencies in this movie. The way that, Tyrese and Paul Walker, when they're having that camaraderie together, you would almost swear that this is Brokeback Mountain and you're expecting these two to bang at some point. Even Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger would be looking at this and going, guys, we're supposed to do that in our movie. You're not supposed to be doing this in this film. I mean, it gets to those insane levels. It's just like, am I really watching a movie that's really trying to promote gay people, gay action stars? I mean, if it is, I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, it actually would be a pretty interesting idea for an action film to have two gay guys, but I don't think that's what they were going for. I think that was poor. I think that was a bad intention for what they were trying to go for here, but they didn't hide it very well because it's clearly there, and yeah, it's definitely noticeable when you really look at it, but but besides all that, it's definitely not as good as the first Fast and Furious movie. It's definitely a film that is suffering a lot from sequelitis, but sometimes the action can look pretty good, and it is interesting to see John Singleton do something that's kind of outside of his norm. I think this was actually the first big blockbuster film he's ever directed, if I'm not mistaken. I think the closest he's ever done before this was Shaft, and he's never gone back ever since, probably for good reasons, because the film was not well received. In fact, he hasn't really, looking at his photography here, he has not really done a whole lot since after this movie came out. He did one great film in Four Brothers, and then he followed up with easily the worst movie of his career, and that is Abduction, and that's the last thing he directed before he passed away. So that's the thing that really, because he passed away in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, and he goes out with a Taylor Lautner movie that was really terrible from the beginning, but I mean, I give him credit for at least trying to do something outside of his norm, and I'd say it's not a good movie, but it definitely has some stuff in there that I think it makes it worth it. Like, I joke about the fact that Paul Walker and Tyrese come off as very gay in this movie, but they do work off each other very well, and thankfully with the sequels that they were in afterwards, they do have better chemistry in those films that's kind of established in here, but it's kind of hard not to overlook the obvious gay tendencies they have together. But Eva Mendes is really good here. I mean, she is very attractive in this. You also have Tyrese Gibson, Cole Hauser as the villain. Ludacris Bridges is also in here for the first time. James Remare, great actor he is. I mean, there are things to appreciate about the film in general. It's definitely a step down compared to the original film, and as for, considering some of the worst movies to come after this, I mean, we're going to have the next one being Tokyo Drift, which is not a good film, and then down the road we have Fate of the Furious, and then, F9. Well, actually, I liked F9. Fast X, yeah, this is no longer one of the worst Fast and Furious movies because Fate of the Furious and Fast X exist. But yeah, overall, it's fine. There's nothing really that bad about it, per se. It's just not really as good as the original film. And I do give it credit for trying to do something a little bit different than the first movie did. I mean, it's not just them remaking Point Break. It's them trying to actually continue a storyline and expand on it with at least one of the main characters. But even then, that didn't work out. And the film didn't do bad business, per se. But the negative reviews, I think, probably killed any opportunities to have everybody come back for at least the next film. And then they kind of rebranded the series after that with Fast and Furious in 2009. Which we'll get to that one in about 6 years' time, but, yeah, not much more I can say about that one. Too Fast and Furious, fine for what it is, but definitely not one of the better Fast and Furious movies, per se, so that was the big new release, but, let's get to a movie that actually is trying to involve gay people in a positive light. whether intentional or not. But well, I mean, in Too Fast and Furious, it was hard to tell if that was intentional or not. But this one is clearly intentional. The next movie we have here, and that is Mambo Italiano.
What is this world coming to?
Clearly a film that was trying to cash in on the My Big Fat Greek Wedding phenomenon, which, even by the time this movie came out, the zeitgeist of that movie was pretty much dead and buried, because of course you had the TV series that came after that, and even when that TV series ended, it was already pretty much dead on that dead arrival on that point. But we're not here to talk about that movie. We're here to talk about Mambo Italiano, which is a story where you have Angelo Barberini, who is the oddball son of Italian immigrants Gino and Maria. Gino is played by Paul Sorvino, who inadvertently ended up in Canada rather than the United States. Angelo shocks his parents and his sister Anna by moving out on his own without getting married, and shortly after that shocks them further still when he reveals that he is gay. But his boyfriend and childhood best friend, policeman Nino Paventi, isn't as ready to come out of the closet, especially not to his busybody Sicilian mother, Lena. And, yeah, this is a film that did not get the best reception when it came out. It was a film that got mostly mixed to negative reviews. I mean, it was Rotten Tomatoes' consensus is that it's a broad-stroke comedy that plays like a sitcom, and when you watch the trailer in full, you can definitely see that being the case. I mean, there is a clever concept in here that maybe could have worked if they had a better writer or director involved in it, but as it is, it just feels like a film that just kind of feels like, yeah, a sitcom, like a bad sitcom. Like this is the type of show that probably would have been right up there with Will and Grace, except Will and Grace was actually a good show around this time period, and this probably would have been that show that was trying to copy the Will and Grace formula and just kind of fail miserably at it, be gone after a couple of episodes on television. Like I said, there is a good concept over here, a good premise in general, but it just doesn't really go the route that it wanted to go. It's trying to be, like I said, it's trying to be the next My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and Roger Ebert himself even said that it's inconvenienced as My Big Fat Gay Wedding. I mean, it's literally trying to be the equivalent of that. And I say it looks like a sitcom, but sure enough, there was actually a sitcom that came out of this, Ciao Bella, which is a show that explores similar themes of cultural clash that are examined in the film and the play it was based upon. Claudia Ferri, who plays Angela's sister Anna in Mambo Italiano, plays the lead role in Ciao Bella. Obviously, I've never seen the show because I don't live in Canada, and I don't know exactly what the show is, but it ran for one season, which pretty much tells you everything you need to know about how well that did. But yeah, I really don't know anything more about this movie. I mean, it's a film that really, I saw it once. I never really had any intentions of seeing it again after that. It's just like, you had a good idea here, but it just didn't take it to that next level where it would have been made it a comedy masterpiece or something like. It would have been a really good movie. Maybe if they had a better director involved, a better writer in general, they probably would have had something. But as it is, it's just there. It's just a movie that's trying to be a My Big Fat Greek Wedding clone and not really working out that well. So yeah, not much more to say about that one. Mambo Italiano. So let's go ahead and take a look at the last one we have here, the more successful of the two independent releases this weekend, Keisha Cashel-Hughes in Whale Rider.
A long time ago, an ancestor Pikey came to this place, on the back of a whale.
Winner of the People's Choice Award at the Toronto International Film Festival.
Since then, in every generation of my family, the firstborn son has carried his name.
Winner of the Audience Award at the Sundance Film Festival.
And become the leader of our tribe. Until now.
Whale Rider, rated PG-13.
So in the film, you have Keisha Cashel-Hughes playing a 12-year-old Maori girl whose ambition is to become the chief of the tribe. Her grandfather believes that this is a role reserved for males only, and of course, a story is developed through there. And this is the film that, like I said, launched Keisha Cashel-Hughes' career. She was actually nominated for the Oscar for Best Actress, which at the time, she was the youngest actress to ever be nominated for the Oscar, breaking Isabella Adjani's record when she was 20. She held that record for 9 years before Crevani Wallace took the nomination for Beasts of the Southern Wild when she was only 9 years old. And you can definitely see why she was nominated, because this is a star-making performance for her, and it really does show what she would later bring to the table with stuff like the Nativity Story, and then later on Game of Thrones, where she was one of the where she was one of the Sand Snakes. And it's a really good movie. It's a film that's very thought-provoking. It's a film that really keeps you invested in what's going on in the storyline. It's a very powerful film, boasted by that performance. You also have Cliff Curtis in here giving a great performance as well. This is directed by Nicky Caro, who's gone on to direct a lot of notable films. North Country, which is a criminally underrated Charlize Theron movie. She also did, this person also did, Nicky Caro's a woman, right? Yeah, she's a woman. Okay, I got it right the first time. She also did another underrated film, McFarlane USA, and then she followed it up with Mulan, the live-action one, which was not that great. But then again, it really wasn't her fault. It was just a bad Disney live-action remake, and which at the time I didn't mind it, but as I've watched it multiple times since, not good. It's a film that I've definitely noticed a lot more flaws of as the years have gone by. But this is a really good film. I mean, I really don't think I need to say too much more about this one that hasn't already been said already. It's a star-making performance for Keisha Cashel-Hughes. It's a very intriguing, thought-provoking storyline with a great cast, some great visuals, great storytelling. It's just a really damn good movie. I can't recommend it enough. Whale Rider, definitely check this one out.
When the Rugrats go overboard,
Where's this from?
legends will meet.
Yeah, Woogie. Where'd you come from?
Spike, hey, with speed.
Could you give a dog a little warning?
And trouble will meet her double. Rugrats go wild. Featuring the voice of Bruce Willis as Spike.
Yeah, baby, that's what I'm talking about.
With PG. Now play only in theaters.
Ah, the days when the Nickelodeon movie was promoted on a competing network and they didn't want to show the logo by any means necessary of Nickelodeon's. So I always found that kind of amusing, and even the post that I have here on my written review actually has the Nickelodeon logo taken out of that as well. So I just find that kind of amusing. But since Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys made the successful transition to the big screen, and it would make some sense if they had their paths crossed, Nickelodeon decided to make the third Rugrats movie a crossover film with the Wild Thornberrys, and thus we have said film. And of course, as the plot indicates, the Rugrats go on a cruise, their ship gets capsized during a storm, end up on the same island as the Wild Thornberrys, and of course the chaos and hilarity ensues from there. And with Rugrats in Paris and Wild Thornberrys being vast improvements over their TV shows, this movie in particular feels like a major step down in comparison to both shows and what both preceding movies had brought to, kind of expand the characters and stories in both of those films. But they've gone back to more of a formulative approach that's been done to death over and over again. And I'm sorry, I'll stick with the Jetsons meet the Flintstones, or When the Simpsons meets Family Guy, thank you very much, because this is about what you would expect from a film like this. But then again, it could get by with some of the interactions between the characters having some entertainment value to them, and they do, at least some of them, even if they try to make you think some characters from one show that have the same characteristics or character traits from other shows, they just cram in here. Like, would anyone even compare Angelica to Debbie? I mean, I never made that connection before. Heck, Chucky being compared to Donnie, mostly because they have the same hair, but different color. I mean, and then when you have a movie that's being sold off by having Bruce Willis as the voice of Spike whenever Eliza's around him, it honestly works a lot better than I thought it would have been, and it would have given Willis credit for. I mean, I'm hearing the voice of John McClane coming out of Spike the Dog from the Rugrats. It's a concept that's so hilarious and stupid, and it works, again, for the most part. I mean, there are those ridiculously corny throwaway lines, like if they're trying to talk down to the audience or saying some pretty childish lines, like there's pointless references, like the last line Spike has in the movie is, "As dog is my witness, I'll never lose my babies again." And it's just like, like, lack of creativity there, to say the least. And also, Spike kind of takes over for Darwin pretty much as Eliza's sidekick. Darwin's literally just pushed off to the side of the movie. He barely has anything to do in this film whatsoever. Like, he has 2 to 3 lines in this whole movie, and that's it. The rest of it is just him screeching. Like, they completely tossed him off to the side because Spike's right there, so just replace the monkey with the dog, I guess. And the adventure really isn't that exciting either. And that's the worst thing about this movie. We're just watching the babies just walking around the jungle, and that's it. Nothing interesting happens until we get to the third act, when we start to get into the action and adventure when you have the Clouded Leopard after them. And even then, there's really not a whole lot there. There's more adventure in the first two Rugrats movies compared to this film, and this one gets the PG rating because more adult humor, I guess. They got to throw that in there, but and then there's the big climax at the end, which is really, really lackluster because it's a situation where, you know, there's a big subplot where Nigel sees the babies at first. He falls off of a mountain, gets hit by a coconut, and he thinks he's a baby, and so that's why the Rugrats can understand him at first, and there's a situation where they get stuck inside this bathysphere, and they're trying to go for some realism here, I get it, but these are just long, drawn-out scenes where Nigel's just keeping up hope and oxygen ticking away, and it goes on for 20 minutes, and this is an 81-minute movie. I mean, this is about 1/4 of the whole movie, and halfway through it, I was just like, all right, we get it, just wrap it up already, because it was going on for so long, and nothing was going on. Like, this is a film that should have had a lot more. It has a lot more ambition to it, but it just never delivers on any of it whatsoever. It's like the Hey Arnold movie from the year before. It was supposed to be a TV movie at one point, but unlike Hey Arnold, they shelved everything that they had and started from scratch, and even then, that still couldn't prevent the movie from being a gigantic letdown in the end. I mean, you could have had something exciting with these, but overall, it's a drag, and unfortunately, it just ends the Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys movies on a bad note. And the box office wasn't really helping it either, and neither was the fact that they literally had a smell-o-vision format placed into this with Odorama. Like, you could get these cards at the movie theater, and you're supposed to scratch the cards, and you smell like, you could smell like different, like, there's a thing where you could smell Phil's feet if you're interested. You could smell Debbie's root beer. You can, like, smell all these different things. And it's just like, why do I want to smell any of that? Like, there's a reason why that format died, only to be briefly revived with Spy Kids All the Time in the World, and even then, that didn't work then either, but, yeah, this is just a bad way to go off of both the Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys. Plus, the zeitgeist for both of these series had kind of pretty much died off as SpongeBob pretty much took over as Nickelodeon's premier mascot as a whole. But, yeah, this is just a mess. This is just a messy, messy film on so many levels. But, so that's Rugrats Go Wild. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, which is Hollywood Homicide. So in the film, you have, when they're not solving murders in Tinseltown, you have Harrison Ford as a detective and his rookie partner, played by Josh Hartnett, who both moonlight in other fields. Harrison Ford's character sells real estate poorly, and Josh Hartnett's character aspires to become an actor. Assigned to the vicious in-club slang of a promising young rap act, the two detectives delve into the recording industry, where they hope to find the answers, ideally ones that are complete with property buyers or auditions. This film gets kind of a bad rap, but I'm not going to lie, I kind of admire this movie. I actually do find it kind of funny. It's actually based on supposed true experiences of one of the writers, Robert Souza, who was actually a homicide detective in the LAPD Hollywood division and was moonlighting as a real estate broker in the last couple of years of his job. So I thought it was kind of intriguing how they took that and decided to make a comedy out of it. The film gets kind of a bad rap because it does have a lot of subplots that don't really go anywhere, and yeah, that's kind of true, but kind of like with National Security, what makes it work is how the two leads work off each other. I thought they worked off each other very well, despite the fact that they really did not like each other in real life. Plus, it's funny just seeing Harrison Ford go crazy at times in this movie. Like, you see in the trailers where he's yelling at somebody for a bike to go chase the bad guys in, and then there's a scene where they're in an interrogation room and he's just thrusting himself in front of what the police officer played by Bruce Greenwood, who's sleeping with his girlfriend, and he's just going like it's fun seeing Indiana Jones go crazy and do something outside of his norm. I mean, at least to me, I thought it was, but I thought it was a fun movie. I think it's a very funny movie. It's not the best written story-wise, but sometimes you can just watch a movie like this and say, did I have a good time with it? Absolutely. I had a good time with National Security. I put those two movies in the same category. They're not the best written stories. They're movies we've seen done to death so many times, but I had a good time. I actually had a lot of fun laughing at some of the ridiculousness and the stupidity of it, but I loved it. I thought it was a ton of fun. Okay, maybe loved a little bit of an expression too much, but I like it a lot better than I think a lot of people put on it. I think it's a lot better. It certainly is a lot better than Ron Shelton's other movie he made this year with Dark Blue, which that was just a mess of a film. But this, I thought this was a ton of fun. I wish I could say that for our last movie here, but okay, maybe there's a couple of things in this one, but most of this is just a bad film. This is Dumb and Dumber, or When Harry Met Lloyd.
This summer, New Line Cinema proudly presents the greatest saga of all time. From the very beginning. Of Dumb and Dumber.
Sorry about that, buddy. It's my first time bringing a friend up there. You okay? Yeah. So I suppose all about looking cool, Harry, so stick with me.
What stinks?
WB, sir.
Going on a journey.
Is that what I think it is? Nope, it's a treasure map.
Cool. And an adventure
It's our own special boss, Harry!
of idiotic proportions. Space giving $100,000 to every store that has a special needs class. Problem is, where do we find kids who can pass off as special?
Thanks, Doc! Bingo.
On June 13th, well, I've got a little surprise for you.
You got the extender?
Oh, that's close. It's a meeting of the mindless.
Are you trying to be funny or are you actually special?
Before the first movie, there was high school.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I think I need a bank.
No? That's my boy. There's only one way to solve this. Make out contest.
I'm waiting.
Dumb and Dumber. When Harry Met Lloyd.
Did you just...
Maybe.
Yes, the prequel's so pointless that even its marketing is questioning why the hell they're even deciding to do this film. Oh, you think I'm kidding? No. There was actually a teaser trailer that came out before this that is literally spelling out to you that we think this is a stupid idea, but we're going to do it anyway.
Dumb, below normal intelligence. Dumber, way below normal intelligence. Dumber, completely devoid of any shred of anything that even remotely resembles intelligence. For example, trying to make a prequel to Dumb and Dumber. When Harry Met Lloyd. Dumb and Dumber. They're young, they're fun, they're full of dumb.
When even the marketing is telling you that this is a horrible idea, but we're still going to do it anyway, that tells you a lot about how they felt about making this film. So it's the 1980s, 1986 to be exact, and it's the moment that Lloyd Christmas and Harry Dunn meet. Lloyd Christmas is played by Eric Christian Olsen, who would later go on to have a much more successful career in the NCIS series, but and then the actor playing Harry, Derek Richardson, has not really done a whole lot since then, a couple of TV shows here and there, but they play Lloyd and Harry, and the two individuals are seen by many as special and become best friends as soon as they meet. Principal Collins, played by Eugene Levy, and his lover, the lunch lady Mrs. Heller, played by Sherry O'Terry, want to make as much money out of scams, and the next idea is to create a special needs class. Miss Heller is the teacher, and they have assigned Harry and Lloyd to round the special students up, which includes Shia LaBeouf, because, you know, forget the great promise he showed in Holes. Here's a movie where he really does not have a whole lot to do in here. School news reporter Jessica, played by Rachel Nichols, that Rachel Nichols from the G.I. Joe movies, is suspicious, though, and desperately tries to find out the truth, even if it means gaining Harry and Lloyd's help. So there's a lot of notable names in here, not just the ones I mentioned, but Louis Guzman, Julia Duffy, who else is in here? Tim Stack, Brian Posehn, Bob Saget, which I'll get to him in a minute because he's probably part of the biggest scene in the entire film, the most memorable scene in the entire film, I should say. Mimi Rogers. I mean, there is a decent cast in here in general. All have gone on to better things since after this, because why do we even need to sugarcoat it? This movie is bad. Like, I mean, it's a bad movie. It's not funny. It's not clever whatsoever. Even for a movie that's supposed to be considered really dumb, this is too dumb for its own damn good. I mean, this is a film that is just so lazy and so uninspired and just so pointless. Like, there's no reason to make this movie. You can't expect me to believe that these two guys are going to grow up to be the Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels 8 years after this movie. The set piece comes into play, because this takes place in '86, and that came out. The original Dumb and Dumber came out in '94, and yeah, and it's just a bad film per se. And it's funny because this movie probably would have had a chance if they had gone with the original route that they had, because supposedly they were going to get Trey Parker and Matt Stone to write the script for this, but because of scheduling conflicts, they opted out of the project and basically had to return the salary they got from New Line Cinema back. And what could have been, because they probably could have saved this movie, not by a whole lot, but it probably would have been a whole lot better than it actually is, which it's a terrible film on so many levels, but it does have one memorable scene in it that actually does kind of work in the film's favor, and that is the scene with Bob Saget, who plays Rachel Nichols' father in here, and it's a scene where it's funny because it's like the first movie. One of the most memorable scenes involves poop all over the poop, except in the original it was Jeff Daniels having explosive diarrhea, but in this it's just Bob Saget screaming, "There's shit everywhere." I mean, and again, this is Bob Saget, the guy who made his career off of stuff like America's Funniest Home Videos and Full House, and then he does something like Dirty Work, and then this, and it's just like, you know, look, there's a reason why he was called America's Filthiest Family Man. I mean, he has the most memorable scene in the movie, and it's just nothing but him screaming, "There's shit everywhere," and just the way he's screaming it, it's just perfect. Like, it's just it's that one brief flash of something really hilarious from something really stupid that works in the film's favor, and it's just the one thing that this movie has going for it. But everything else about it is just, let's just put it this way. The director of this is the same man that gave us the holiday ASIC that is Jack Frost, the Michael Keaton one. The one where Michael Keaton dies and turns into a snowman, a badly CG snowman. That should have been the warning sign that this was not going to work out. And but despite all that, it was still a hit. Like, it wasn't as big of a hit as the original Dumb and Dumber, but the thing only cost $19 million to make, and did make its budget back, but doubling it by $40 million. So they did kind of make their. It did end up being somewhat successful when it was all said and done, but even then, it's just kind of like, was it really worth it? I mean, was it really worth it to do this film? I mean, I guess because this came out, they eventually decided, okay, we're finally going to make the sequel, Dumb and Dumber 2, about 11 years later, which, it's better, but not by that much. I'll delve more into that when we get to 2014, but, I mean, at least that's better than this film. This was just, there's nothing more I gotta say about it, man. This is just not a good movie whatsoever. It's just a film that's just really, really, really bad, and it's not even hiding the fact that it's completely pointless, but, I've really got nothing else for you. That's Dumb and Dumberer, When Harry Met Lloyd.
Even now I can feel it, buried somewhere deep inside, watching me, waiting. But you know what scares me the most? When I can't fight it anymore. When it takes over. When I totally lose control. I like it.
How can you not be excited after a trailer like that? I mean, that trailer used to scare the bejesus out of me. I mean, when his eye turned green and it's just that straight look at that eye looking right at me, it was just like, I got uncomfortable watching that sometimes because, back in the day when you're online and you used to see these little trailers popping up out of nowhere, you'd be going on your website and all of a sudden a thing for a trailer for like a Death to Smoochie or in this case the Hulk would show up, and it used to scare the bejesus out of me because it just comes out of nowhere, and it's just like how can you not get excited for a movie like this? Oh, they found a way to make you really, really less optimistic about it when you see stuff like this in the next couple of trailers.
It's like a gamma released. Something's already there. My son. The world will not tolerate his existence. What did you do to me?
Mutated dogs. Really bad-looking mutated dogs. And, God, I wish that was the only thing I could say that's wrong with these trailers that leads you to the thing we're about to talk about here, but, it gets worse.
When you're left with no choice, I'm sending her a surprise visit from some friends of mine. When you're pushed too far, you're a pathetic freak. Don't just get even. You're making me angry. Get mad. I don't think you're gonna like me when I'm angry.
I don't even like you when you're not angry. This movie is, I think you know what it is, but let's talk about the story first. That is Eric Banner as Bruce Banner, a brilliant scientist with a cloudy past about his family who was involved in an accident in his laboratory causing him to become exposed to gamma radiation, and nanomedes, a tiny life form that is supposed to heal wounds, but has cooked everything with which they have made contact with. Confused and curious about his survival, Banner discovers that since the accident, when he becomes angry, he transforms into this giant green monster that we know as the Hulk, destroying everything in sight in an act of fury. Bruce's mysterious past and the answers to why the radiation has its effect becomes revealed to him as his birth father, David Banner, played by Nick Nolte, intervenes with hope, then continues experimenting on him. It's funny, when I didn't see this movie at first for the longest time. It wasn't until the next Incredible Hulk movie came out 5 years later. The first time I saw it, I didn't think it was that terrible. But, yeah, once I saw the Edward Norton movie, I was just kind of like, okay, screw that last Hulk movie. That's how much I love the Incredible Hulk. But this, again, this gets worse and worse every time I see it. This is, without a doubt, one of the worst Marvel movies ever made. It takes a badass character in the Hulk and just turns him into a pussy. Like, he is such a cowardly mess of a character in this film, and it's just, let's go through the problems of the film. One of them starts off with the film focusing on discovering more of who the Hulk is, rather than having him do what he does best. I swear to God, there are multiple scenes in this movie that delve more into the story of Bruce Banner and the Hulk than there are scenes of the Hulk tearing up shit like he's supposed to do. I mean, when will people learn that we don't care about these movie monsters having backstories? That we don't, is like, do we really need to have the backstories of people like Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Leatherface, or Michael Myers? No. Because once you add those elements in there, and how they become these menaces, they aren't scary anymore. It's like with Maleficent. I mean, they took one of the badass Disney villains and made a movie where they give you the backstory, and it's just like, well, now you just made her more of a complicated character because you set her up as a good guy at first, and now, like what happens? Like, what's the point? And here it happens with the Hulk, and they come up with a stupid storyline involving Bruce's dad playing a part of why he keeps turning into the Hulk, which adds more plot holes to the story, even when it gets to the end of the movie, where they have this big climax where Bruce has to fight his dad, and and his dad gets all these superpowers and just has to become this big bloated CG mess. And speaking of CG messes, you thought those dogs were bad? This entire movie has some of the worst visual effects I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, the transformations of the Hulk are so awful in this movie. You can't take them seriously at all. This is 2003. I get it. Technology has advanced in the 20-plus years since then, but I know they could do visual effects better than this. Hell, I could do visual effects better than this. I have no way of doing visual effects, but I can tell you right now, I know how to do them better than anything that they pulled off in this movie. That's how bad this movie is. If there's one thing that I can give to the film's credit, it's the casting. Some of the casting is not bad. Like, Eric Banner's not bad as Bruce Banner. Jennifer Connelly's not bad as Betty Ross. Sam Elliott's not bad as the Thunderbolt Ross. They're playing their parts okay, but the problem is, they're not given a whole lot to do. There's more exposition going on in this film than there is an actual story, and that's the problem with the film. It's what Ang Lee was trying to do with it. He was trying to make a monster movie with a character who's not really a monster. He was trying to do is like he tried to make the Hulk a miniaturized version of Godzilla, but the Hulk is not that kind of a threat. He wants to explore more of the story, but that's not what people go to these movies to see. And leave it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe to finally make Hulk films or movies with the Hulk that actually give him a storyline where he can also be a badass as well. You have to have a mixture of both here with the character of the Hulk. You can make a film where you go into the backstory of the Hulk, but you have to have a story. You have to also have it where the Hulk does what the Hulk does best. And when he does it in this movie, it's very little on. It's like a span of 10-15 minutes of the whole movie towards the end. That's it. This is a film that's over 2 hours long. This thing cost $137 million to make, and this is the best they could come up with. And I'm not going to blame Ang Lee for this. I think he was just brought in to be essentially a director for hire. I think he was in a bad situation like what John Woo was when, he made Face Off, and then they brought him in to do Mission Impossible 2, and he kind of ruined his career with that. But, at least the difference between John Woo and Ang Lee is that Ang Lee, this wasn't much of a thing that nearly killed his career. It was more of a blemish, because as soon as he got off of this film and started making great films again, like Brokeback Mountain and Life of Pi, you start to realize maybe he wasn't the problem with the Hulk after all. Maybe he just was a guy that should not have been attached to this movie whatsoever. And sadly, it's a problem that we're seeing a lot more nowadays with all these sequels coming in here, with all these different directors who have never directed a blockbuster movie and should have not been in that situation in the first place. I'm looking at the guy from Twisters who did Minari. He did a independent film, and Universal said, we want to give you $100 million to make a sequel that nobody is asking for, but, hey, Jurassic World was a success with a director who had never touched a blockbuster before, so why can't we do it here? But there's a difference, though. Jurassic Park has more of a lasting legacy than freaking Twisters does. But I'm going off of a completely different subject altogether. But the bottom line here is that Ang Lee's Hulk is a mess. It's one of the worst superhero movies ever made. Honestly, if you want to see the true versions of how the Hulk should be, there's the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk, there's the Avengers movies, there's the Thor Ragnarok. That's the Hulk. This is not. So, plain and simple. This is just not the Hulk. So, can we turn the tide here with our next movie? It's a Rob Reiner film. Got Kate Hudson and Luke Wilson in it. It's called Alex and Emma. I don't really see what could go wrong with this movie.
What's your book about?
It's about the powerlessness of being in love. How it devours the inside of a person like a deadly virus. It's a comedy.
Are you out of your mind?
From Rob Reiner, the director of When Harry Met Sally.
I don't like tomato skins.
Who are you?
Luke Wilson, Kate Hudson, and Kate Hudson.
Oh, baby, yes!
Alex and Emma. This film is not yet rated. Starts Friday, June 20th.
Oh, not franchise pictures. Dead on arrival. Dead on arrival. As soon as you see the franchise pictures logo, it's like, it's over. It's all over from here. And you have a story here where you have a writer, played by Luke Wilson, who must publish a novel in 30 days or face the wrath of loan sharks. You got Kate Hudson playing all these different multiple roles in here, and it's just, and for Rob Reiner, this is the guy that has made some bad movies, stuff like North, stuff like The Story of Us, Ghost of Mississippi, but this is definitely right up there with one of his worst movies, mostly because it just feels like a film that does not fit the mold of what you expect from Rob Reiner and what he can bring to the table here. It feels like, kind of like with the Hulk, it felt like this was a film that Rob Reiner was forced to do as a director for hire. Just, hey, we need a name for this film. We don't think Luke Wilson and Kate Hudson are top draws, even though Kate Hudson's been nominated for an Oscar. But you've been nominated for an Oscar, so let's go ahead and put you in here and see if you can fix this. And clearly he could not, because this film just misfires on so many levels. Too good of a cast to be wasted on this film. A good director, it's a franchise pictures movie. What more did you expect from this? Yeah, this is, as soon as that logo comes up, it's just like, turn out the lights, the party is over. They say that all good things must come to an end, So, yeah, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie here, which, can we turn the tide with our last movie here? Let's see if we can. This is from Justin to Kelly.
Come on, bus to Miami. It's not bussy.
Music will bring two strangers together. Hey, they go from the beach. And nothing can come between them.
I'm gonna ask her out again.
Except all their friends.
So what does a girl need to do to get you?
There are a million hot girls here, and you're still talking about the one girl who blew you off.
Kelly Clarkson.
I should take a chance.
Justin Guarini. Next fall is special in the musical event of the summer. From Justin to Kelly, rated PG. June 20th, only in theaters.
Well, I'll give it this. It was the musical event of the summer, and the fact that it was the only musical released in the summer of 2003, so it really wasn't an event. More just like, hey, we don't have any other musicals in here. We'll advertise this as the musical event of the summer, and maybe that'll force people to come see our film. This is one of the worst weekends of the year. Maybe one of the worst weekends for big movies of all time, because, man, From Justin to Kelly certainly is... It's something. Let's go ahead and take a look at the plot for this and just go into it. This takes place during spring break in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We have Texas singing waitress Kelly Taylor meeting Pennsylvania college student Justin Bell, played by Kelly Clarkson and Justin Guarini. They fall for each other, and various romantic complications ensue. Kelly's friend Kaya falls in love with charming busboy Carlos. Kelly's other friend Alexa seems to keep Justin and Kelly from meeting. Justin's friend Brandon is also getting on the wrong side of a sexy beach patrol woman. And Justin's other friend Eddie tries to hook her up with a cyber pal. And this is a film that was so terrible that it almost didn't get released. And judging by the film that we have here, it probably shouldn't have been, but all in good time. Some theater chains literally were threatening not to screen the film when eventually this would be Disney, but 20th Century Fox announced plans to rush it to VHS and DVD a mere 6 weeks after its original release. The deuce, you say? I mean, it's not like nowadays where we just release movies 17 days in theaters and then say, here it is on digital, and then go like, well, why didn't The Fall Guy do well? Well, dumbasses. You literally are putting it out on Blu-ray and digital 17 days after it was released in theaters. And you're expecting it to become a hit in theaters still. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? But again, we'll save that for another time. But Fox ultimately relented and pushed the release date back a few months. And after the opening weekend flop, they decided to reinstate the original release plan. And the film was released in theaters on August 26th. So, theater chains threatened to pull the film. Probably shouldn't even bother to do that, because not only did you waste the studio's time by pushing it back, but it was all for naught, because this film was gone after literally 2 weeks. Like, they didn't even wait the 6 weeks. Like, you could have easily done what we do today. Just put it in theaters for 17 days and then put it on DVD. Nobody would have given a crap. Like, you wasted their time by doing this, but then again, there was this genre in 2003 where they were just like, this was actually the second theatrical release film based off a reality show. We already talked about The Real Cancun. We know how bad that movie was. Yeah, and guess what? That sucked too. But this film, I mean, I don't get it. I have no idea what they were doing. They were basically just trying to cash in on something that just premiered the year before with American Idol. This was a film based off the thing that pushed Fox to the #1 spot in terms of network television for the first time ever. And that was a pretty big deal for them. Like, Fox, they had spent the last 10 years establishing themselves as the fourth television network with The Simpsons, Beverly Hills 90210, Melrose Place, and then the NFL pushed them over the map. But this was the one that put them over the top as the #1 network for a good amount of time. And don't get me wrong, Kelly Clarkson and Justin Guarini can be decent actors if you give them good scripts to work off. I mean, it's funny how Justin Guarini actually had a career, not in music, but in terms of those Dr. Pepper commercials when he was Little Sweet, and he's actually pretty hilarious in those. Yeah, it's far-fetched and over the top, but he's acting, he's coming off as humorous, and in this, he's just nothing. And in fact, everybody in this movie is just nothing. It's like Kelly Clarkson, She's too talented to be in a good movie like this. Like, what a waste of potential for this movie to have with these two people. These two people have shown they have more talent than this film is letting on, and really, I don't think it's their fault, because like I said before, it's nothing but a stupid cash grab in a year when American Idol already tried to cash grab people. Like, they didn't even wait a year after the show premiered to already premiere a spin-off called American Juniors, which also failed miserably. Like, just go ahead and listen to some of this from Kids in America, this version of Kids in America, and I'm just going to let you listen to some of this.
Looking out a dirty old window, down below our cars and the city go rushing by. I sit here alone and I wonder why.
I'm sorry I can't hear or see you guys, because I was literally ripping out my ears and my eyes after listening to that abomination. I mean, like, okay, not really, but can you blame me? Can you blame me? That was horrible. I almost did the exact same. I almost did that in real life when I saw that. I was just like, what the hell were they thinking? But you get the point. The movie is bad. It's terrible. It's rubbish. But the big question is, why does it even exist? Well, like I said, American Idol was a big hit at the time. But was it really that big of a hit that somebody at Fox said, you know what we need to do? We need to, now that we've got this big TV success, let's make a movie around the two frontrunners who have had no acting experience up to this point. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, what's the point? It makes no sense whatsoever. You can just look at the trailer and know right off the bat that none of this shit makes any sense at all. And here's the thing that really worries me about this. Fox was thinking that this was going to be a hit. They actually put the money into it. They put a $12 million budget on this film. It made back $5 million. Where did that $12 million go? I mean, Kelly Clarkson and Justin Green could not be that big of a names to warrant a film that has $12 million attached to it. And, like, this is 2003. They had barely reached the peak of their careers yet. I mean, Kelly Clarkson's first album came out the same year. Like, what were they thinking? What were they thinking with this movie? And this comes out around the same time when we've had a lot of big musical bombs. You know, Mariah Carey's Glitter, you know, Britney Spears' Crossroad. We haven't even gotten to stuff like Ashley Simpson's Undiscovered or Hilary Duff's Raise Your Voice. But honestly, this might be the worst of the very worst. I mean, this is the worst of the very worst. The acting is bad. The story makes no sense whatsoever. The music is terrible. The choreography is awful. It's just an all-around mess of a film, and it easily earns the distinction of one of the worst films ever made. In fact, it's in my top 5 or 6 worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It also earns the distinction as the single worst adaptation of a television series ever. And I know it's not based off entirely of American Idol, but it's based off of, it's an American Idol cash grab, regardless, and a bad one at that. There's a reason why I said this is one of my least favorite movies of all time, and it's that bad, people. Just avoid this movie like the plague. From Justin to Kelly, just avoid it. For the love of God. Well, that was a fun episode, to say the least. Like I said, that may be the worst weekend of the year for movies. Maybe one of the worst weekends for big new releases I've ever seen. And, can the end of the month say that? The biggest new release of the weekend had is Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, the sequel to, of course, the original Charlie's Angels movie, which has not held up well over time, needless to say. So, it's been a couple of years since that movie came out, so one would think that maybe this one will have more of a lasting legacy to it. Maybe it'll hold up better than the original film did. Who knows? The possibilities are in. Nope. Just as dated as the other movie was, but this one might even take it to another level with how crazy this movie gets, because, and not in a good way too, because these movies I'm starting to realize do not hold up well over time at all. So what's the plot of this movie? The plot of this movie, as I'm gonna try to explain it here, is that The Angels are back. Of course, you have Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu as the Angels. They're back again, but this time they're preparing for a strike without even warning. As they go undercover to retrieve 2 missing silver bands. These are not ordinary rings, though. They contain valuable encrypted information that reveals the new identities of every people in the Federal Witness Protection Program. When witnesses start turning up dead, only the Angels, using their expertise in the master of disguise, espionage, and martial arts, can stop the perpetrator, who is a mysterious fallen angel, who's played by Demi Moore.
Good evening, Charlie. Sorry, Charlie. I don't take orders from the speaker box anymore. I work for myself. Well, your boss sucks.
Who certainly does not suck in this movie, because, let's be honest, she's one of the few things that's really great about this movie. But I'll get into that in just a second here. Aided by their trusted colleague, Jimmy Bosley, because they set it up that he and Bill Murray were brothers, and of course Bill Murray said, "You're out of your fucking mind, I'm not coming back for this. I got a Garfield movie to star in next year, bitches." So, yeah, we've got Bernie Mac in here, because Bernie Mac is a hot commodity name at the time, and so the Angels' adventures begin at a remote Mongolian outpost that ends only after Dylan is forced to face a dark secret from her past, a secret that puts the lives of her 2 best friends in danger. And do you really give a shit at this point? I mean, this is a film that clearly didn't take any notes from the last movie and said, if it worked the first time, surely it's going to work again the second time, and not so much. Yeah, this one underperformed badly. With a $120 million budget, it barely hit $100 million in the U.S. alone. But, yeah, it was not a film that did very well overall. But, like I said, there were a couple of things that were actually positive. One is Demi Moore, who I actually really thought was very good, playing Madison in this, the villain in this. She was actually one of the best things about the movie in particular. And Bernie Mac, even though his role is kind of, how he connects to Bill Murray's character in the last movie is really pointless. Like, you could have just said that, you could have just had a thing where it's just like, well, we have all these different Bosleys, so it's not connecting them to one another. Kind of like how there's all these different, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but there's something out there where, you know, they have all these different people playing similar characters. Like, you could have had it where Bosley was just a name and not just everybody was related to him, but no. You mean, this movie's trying to tell you that Bill Murray and Bernie Mac are brothers in this, and it's just like, yeah, you want to say that they're separated at birth type of thing, but it's like there was a better way to explain that. But Bernie Mac, I thought overall was really good in here playing Bosley. But everything else, though, it's what you think it is. It's just TNA. You got these 3 actresses, Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu, just looking provocative and sexy for just the lack of a storyline here, and yeah, considering how Drew Barrymore has kind of changed her tone over the last couple of years, this movie and the original Charlie's Angels do not hold up well, especially considering that she's the main producer on these movies. So, yeah, that's a mark against her in that case. There's too many storylines going on here that make no sense whatsoever. Too many characters get introduced here, and like everything about the film just seems really, really outdated pretty quickly. And this is a film that's supposed to be a parody of something from the 1970s, and it's just like, it's just supposed to show that Charlie's Angels really was more successful as a product of its time, and instead of just and something that probably should not have been rebooted in any way, shape, or form. Because every time they try to reboot this series, it never turns out well. The more I think about it, like the 2011 TV series they tried to do with who's the actress that she was in Transformers? I can't remember who she is now. Rachel Taylor's who I'm thinking of. Minka Kelly was also in it. So was Raymond Rodriguez, who's now on Will Trent. Good talent on board. Good people writing it, but just didn't work out well as a series. And then you had Elizabeth Banks try a crack at it in the film world, and it just didn't work out there either. It was a film that was just kind of like, the pieces were there, but just not the right storyline or something that could modernize it for a new generation. And, yeah, it just didn't work. It's like, this is just something that should have just stayed in the 70s and 80s and then just been considered a time capsule, because when they try to reboot it into a new generation, it just didn't work in the long run. And this is an example of that. And, yeah, not much more to say about this one. That's Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. Definitely not as good. Both of these movies are not even that great to begin with. They're just kind of like, I liked them I liked them when I was little because they were movies that were very provocative and had these girls in skimpy clothing. Now I look back on it and it's just kind of like, yeah, this does not hold up well over time whatsoever. And But let's get to a film that does hold up well over time. A film that I think most people will agree with me is easily the best thing to come out this weekend. And that is Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later. With one of the most badass trailers you will ever see. I mean, that trailer is just one of those great trailers that even if you're not a horror guy, you watch that and you're just like, I gotta figure out what the hell's going on here. Because I know that's what happened to me when I first saw that trailer. It's just like, what the hell is this? I gotta see this. And you have the story here where you have Cillian Murphy as a bicycle courier who awakens from a coma to discover the accidental release of a highly contagious, aggression-inducing virus that has caused the breakdown of society. And technically, Danny Boyle himself doesn't credit this as a zombie film, but nevertheless, it was important to helping to reinvigorate the zombie genre of horror film as a whole, and essentially instituted a revival in the decade after its release with stuff like, Shaun of the Dead, which is a spoof of zombie movies, and in the same year, we had Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, and George A. Romero was able to continue his zombie series after this, but this just proves the length of how much Danny Boyle has as a filmmaker, that he doesn't stick to one particular genre. He's a guy that can do so many different genres, and he almost always nails it right out of the park. And this is another example of that. This is the film that he needed after The Beach was a misguided opportunity with Leonardo DiCaprio. But this is a film that is really, really damn good, and really is intense and scary when it needs to be. I mean, it's a film that has everything you want in a good horror movie. You've got characters you want to relate to, you want to get to know. You've got a situation where the zombies aren't acting like the zombies you see before, where they're walking slow as hell. No, these zombies are moving fast as hell because they know that when they see something that isn't infected, they got to go after them and kill them and have them be a part of their thing. And it's just a movie that still holds up after all these years later. Like, even in the attempts that they've tried to turn this into a franchise, where it hasn't been as successful. 28 Weeks Later was not that great of a movie in general. But they're bringing it back with 28 Years Later, which is essentially going to be a two-part film continuing from this story onward. And it definitely piques my interest to see where they go from there and see if they can find that magic again. But the movie itself is really damn good. It still holds up after all these years from a visual perspective, from a horror movie perspective, from an acting perspective. Everything about it still holds up. The atmosphere, the tension building, this is what pure, perfected horror cinema really is. It's a film that's just so intense, so in your face, and it's just like, it's a masterpiece, man. It's one of the great horror movies of all time. I can't recommend it enough. 28 Days Later, if you have not seen it, even if you're not a horror fan, see it. You will not be disappointed by it by any means necessary.